Goes, "Ay, ay, ay,
Yeah.
ay, ay, ay."
Well, yeah, we need it. Welcome to another edition of our Sunday conversations with AYAYAI, where we try to break down what AI is and what it can be, and just try to understand it better. So today we'll have a simple conversation, and we'll kind of see where it leads us. But what do you see today, Asif?
Well, every episodes we do have a guest, and
Yeah.
when we bring in the guest, we have a specific range of topics that we can discuss. But when it's me and you, the range of topics goes from, it was confusing to berserk. Now it's just a wider spectrum of
Yeah,
topics.
let me get my popcorn because maybe we'll talk some movies.
Confusion popcorn. This is the one you're like, I'm just more interested in the popcorn, not necessarily in the conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think AI just does that, right? AI data, use cases of AI, use cases of data. It just does that because that's how much data sets we have around the world. And we really have a challenge in front of us. It's a societal issue, right? This is society's issue, not necessarily a workforce issue, IT issue, or business issues. Not that it has never been about society, but this one is more something that I think before we started the conversation, we said this is not about solving anything. This is just bringing the awareness to the surface. Because problem that we are talking about today hasn't even started that badly.
Mhm.
It's just going to get that much worse. And before it does, only measurements that we have is to bring that awareness to the table, so that way we can brush it off or we can just suffer through it, whatever the case is. We just have to bring the awareness, right? So yeah, that's the topic of the day. Confusing as hell.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different topics you can talk about AI. There's so many different ways, but the one that really kind of hits home where everyone can really feel it because they see it now and they see it more than ever, and it feels more real because it's funny now, but it's the use of generative AI and the use of deep fake more specifically. Deep fake is it's an amazing set of technologies where people have been able to put together different ways of modifying and creating video that's just in some cases it's funny.
Yeah.
In some cases you wonder like how can be used in many different ways, like when it comes to social media. We saw it, and without getting into politics one way or another, but you can see how you know uh, information drives, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not, as long as it's out there, and you can make these fantastic videos with deepfake. And there's a lot of opportunity there, but is it good? Is it bad or anything else? How you decide to use it, I guess, is some more anything because technology is one way or another. Like a weapon, it can be weaponized, or it can be used for good.
Yeah.
So what are maybe we'll use that as a basis today for our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is on everybody's top news of last few weeks has been the Telegram CEO being arrested in France. It's two brothers that came up with Telegram, and they challenged the notion that unless this is an internationally concerning topic, no crime inside of Telegram will go reported. No crime will be investigated. No crimes will be prosecuted as long as it happens inside of Telegram, right? Why do I say Telegram? Because if you think about Telegram, that's an ecosystem that is away from the dark web, which you have, like you said, good and bad, right? You
Okay,
have
yeah, yeah.
internet that everybody uses, and there's a dark web that you really have to know what you're doing in dark web. And what happened with Telegram is that it created a synergy between internet and the dark web, and it put Telegram in the middle, where now everything that you have to be a subject matter expert in order to do crimes in the dark web, you can do it inside of Telegram without knowing a single thing that you really have to be a subject matter expert of. If you pay somebody $10, they will open you up to doing any sort of crime or bad behaviors or negative social impact through Telegram, right? So when we're talking about this ecosystem, it used to happen in a dark web. You said, like, if my information gets stolen in the internet, it will end up in the dark web, and that's where all the harm will come through. But now these harms are coming through Telegram, which is a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 30-year-old, and an 80-year-old all can access Telegram and do as much damage as they like, just by paying somebody $10, $15, or a little, fee
Mhm.
subscription, or they literally have a business model where amount of crimes that you want to commit, if you just have
Yeah.
to pay more because you want to commit 100 crimes, right? For 10 crimes is $10, for 100 crimes is $100.
All right. I want to virtualize my crimes, and I want to be able to regionalize it also. So I want to stagger my crimes.
I have a ERP
I
that
want to
I
load balance my
have my
crimes.
organization now.
God,
So
no, that's horrible. God,
it's horrible. Yeah,
good
exactly. So
Lord.
this
Yeah.
is where we
So,
are at today,
mhm,
with what's happening around the globe. But we really don't know how to draw the context between deepfake and Telegram. We
mhm,
don't really know how to draw a thread between our lives and Telegrams and deepfake. So it's not that it's happening to you, it's happening away from you, but all of a sudden there's a thread that goes towards you. And
mhm,
and when it does, that's when you start feeling the pain and the impact of it, right?
mhm,
So let's start talking about multimodal, which is a topic that you buy into, because Google Gemini, OpenAI, Microsoft, everybody will provide you with multimodal services, which will allow you to do audio, video, images, text to so many other things. That's why it's called multimodal, is that a single text prompt will allow you to do multiple things. Uh, so deep fake is just not about, fake as in I saw a picture, fake as in I listened to an audio that sounds like my daughter who's been kidnapped, and my daughter's has been kidnapped, and she's requiring that I go to JP Morgan Chase Bank and drop a
wow.
$10,000 check and deposit it to somebody's account, and after that, my daughter would be, released from being hostage, right? So these are the situations we have to deal with, and the reason they have your daughter's voice coming through a deep fake call is because her voicemail was hacked, right? As in,
Mhm,
somebody called her up as a scammer and listened to her voice on her voicemail and took that voicemail and made a whole call out of it, right? So earlier we were talking about having fun with Samuel L. Jackson's voice. Asif is going to say something in his poor narrative like English, and all of a sudden Asif sounds like Samuel L. Jackson. Who
mhm,
wouldn't want to listen to Asif now, right? And that's the fun part of it. That's the part that everybody will love. But here we are having a situation where
yeah,
scammers are literally taking your voicemail and making a copy of it and turning it into a whole persona of your loved ones and saying, "Hey, you got to pay up for your." So this is not something that's scenario based. This has happened already, where the dad has the phone call and dad is about to pay the rents kidnappers the money, and mom is calling the daughter and saying, "Hey, where are you?" She's like, "Well, what are you talking about? Everything is fine. What's going on?" These are the things that are happening. The other one that I always talk about is the gentleman over in Asia who was in a Zoom call and got nods from everybody on that call to write a check for, I think, millions of dollars. I think close to 25 millions of dollars. Everybody that was on that call
wow.
was all fake, right? Everybody on that Zoom call was fake. It was a
Yeah.
CEO, CIO, CTO, everybody
Mhm,
level that agreed that the CFO is needs to write that check for $25 million to these people specifically. And that's happening today. I'm not talking about scenarios. I'm talking
yep,
about what's happening today. And deep fake, if you look at the range and the spectrum, really is a wide spectrum, because we talked
mhm,
about audio so far, we talked about visual so far. You have other ways you can use deep fake that is not even on our a site yet, because we're not using it widely yet. But these deepfakes are really important for us to have, because if we have access to this deepfake, we can do so much more than we've been previously able to do, and that comes down to that good professional use of deepfake, which academia, back when they labeled the term deepfake, that was the reason the deepfake came to be, right? Deepfake came to be so that way we can use it in medical industry to diagnose things that are not necessarily something that you can create an image of, right? So one of the best example is that if you were to, instead of cutting your skin open to see the heart, you actually have a device that goes inside of your body with least amount of intrusion. And because of the low power capability of that camera to capture image of inside of your body, it takes a picture, but it takes that picture in such a way that using deep fake outside of our body, we are able to figure out what are some of the things that we're not seeing, right? Or the grainy picture, how to improve that grainy picture, or how to improve that uh, uh, let's say blood flow or quality of the blood flow or things that we need to see in the image. So instead of putting in a dye inside of your body to see the blood movement, you're literally taking a picture. And with the augmentation of deepfake, you are able to actually come to the real conclusion without being intrusive at all or invasive procedures. Uh,
Yes, less evasive procedures. Yeah.
right. So you have a spectrum of use cases, but let's pause there because, like I said, it gets confusing after a while.
Yeah, I attended Black Hat not too long ago, and there was a lot of different events, and you listened to different technologies, and there was one that was brought up where we covered deep fakes also, and I think it was the AI summit, and one of the part of it is interesting because the Trend Micro has a way and different they're still trying to figure out how to of course you can try to figure out if it's real or it's not, but then there's ways of detection, and they're trying to get better at that. But that's not the point. The point is that similar to what you said, there was a scenario where there was a CEO, and he was talking to the head CISO or CTO of a company, and they deep fake the CFO and the CTO or the CEO to get the CTO to send him all the client lists. He needed it now, and they managed to get it on a Zoom call, and it was simple, just typing in the prompt and setting up the from previous videos. They got images of the CEO online, and they went through the steps of how they built it right in front of you, and built up a whole deep fake campaign, and convinced this CTO to or the guy on the weekend to provide the client list, and it was impressive.
Yeah.
Now, there's things that you start to teach though. So how do you combat this? Okay, one is how do you figure out if this is a deep fake or not? And there's different ways of starting to train your IT community and security. Okay, so start to ask questions. Question the deep fake, because typically a lot of the prompts are going to be hard set. The videos are going to be created in a way where it's going to be a one direction conversation. It's not going to be a two, back and forth. And so there's ways of combating it, but then there's also technologies that can actually detect it live. And they're still working on stuff like that. But it's interesting to say that we're at that edge right now. We know when, we can kind of tell when something's a deep fake. We can figure it out. But when is it real, and how do we, beyond a shadow of a doubt, say deep fake, and your videos are tagged, so you can say this is an original, and these are all deep fakes. These are fun. These are used for maybe entertainment. They're used for medical purposes. But at least we know it's been modified, and there's a sequencing in the video that they're getting better at detecting. And again, I already mentioned one. Trends openly now saying they can have detection, and I think OpenAI has provided something a few months ago in the past on how to be able to detect deep fakes. But still, again, we're at that edge, and how they affect our decision making or how they entertain us, is yet to be seen, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I want to hit on something you're discussing here, which is the conferences, right? So back in the days, well, still to this day, the conferences will have real time social engineering. You remember that? They
Hmm.
will be inside of a booth, and there will be a subject matter expert who's going to call up a random target, and right in front of live audience, people are observing this gentleman access somebody's password over the phone. No internet, no
Hmm.
deep fake. just calling up straight up, persuading somebody, putting pressure on them enough to say, log into the system, send me an email with this information, right? That used to happen like live in conferences. People are just like wowed by it because what we know puts a pressure on us to say, baby, maybe the victim will know the same, right?
Mhm.
The victims do not know the same. So when that social engineering guy, who's a professional hacker, hacker, not committing a crime, but was literally showcasing how vulnerable a victim can be
Mhm.
based on the scenario that they've been put into. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that to kind of draw that thread from what we have experienced for so long and what we will experience going forward.
Yeah.
Not much have changed. It's that you're being augmented by
Mhm.
a system called intelligence, AI, augmenting intelligence, right?
I like that.
Criminals are being augmented by this intelligence. So are the good people, right? The
Yep.
good people can be augmented by the intelligence. But here's a problem: the good people have lots of confusions about how to augment themselves with this intelligence. So just like you would have AI sophisticated enough to commit fraud against you, defraud you, or steal things from you. You also have AIs to prevent this attack from happening. But a good guy without AI is literally is not as augmented as much as. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If you have a call from an ambulance, some paramedics is calling you up like, "Hey, I have your daughter. She's here bleeding." Right?
Yeah.
Do you think you should be sitting there doubting the fact that this could be real? Not all situations are situations that you have to think about, like, oh, this could be a deep fake. Paramedics calling me up about my daughter bleeding, right? So we're not really augmented. The good guys are not being augmented. It's the criminal that's being augmented, right? So criminals are way ahead of the curve. It's an $8 billion industry,
Mhm.
$8 billion industry that feeds their family, right? No matter how much of a crime they're committing, they're loving this crime because it pays their bill way more than it pays to work for somebody, right? And they're not coming from our socioeconomic status. They're coming from a socioeconomic status where, yeah, you can commit these crimes, but you'll never go to jail for it unless there's an international pressure to take you into the jail, right? Think
Mhm.
about countries like Albania, India, some of the Eastern European countries. They're not really interested in making sure that your life in US is that much better than theirs
Yeah.
is. There's not that many criminals going to prison for defrauding you. So it's a matter of a good person being augmented by an intelligence system versus being a victim of it, then say, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So let me talk about something that it is sort of like a in the realm of a how does a good guy being augmented? Um, when there is a need for understanding who's in that video call with you and how to understand the deepfake,
Mhm.
Zoom should be the one that detects it, right? Zoom should be the one that says, like, yeah, look, I think this person's eyes and ears and movements in the body, it's abnormal, right? So when we talked
Yep.
about emotional intelligence back in 2019, I started a database acquisition. Sorry, I started this data acquisition process to do research and understanding movements of any sort and identify the natural movement versus artificial movement. And
Mhm.
artificial movement, so let's call it like a F-15 pilot, the fighter jet pilot is flying his plane, and he looks out and he says, well, I see a bird, but that bird is natural bird that's just flying in the air. Well, no, the system can detect that that bird is not actually a bird. That's a drone that pretends to be a bird, right? It wants to pivot and attack the F-15 as soon as it gets a chance, right? So these are the kind of movements that we really have to say, what's the delta on what is the natural movement, and what's the delta to say, these are artificial movement, because a human hips, human facial movements, they all have a natural cadence, right?
Yeah.
And a system like Zoom can capture those, right? I have fingers moving right in front of your camera right now. System can capture that and say, like, no, that sounds about something that is not correct, right? See if it's actually a robot or a fake person that's faking all this movement.
Yep.
And the system can catch those, right? So we need to really augment ourselves. But before Zoom can augment us, or Microsoft Teams or any of these virtual conference places can augment us. We have to educate ourselves to say, I should be on lookout, right? I should be on lookout because you can fake up to so much. But if I have a key
Exactly.
device to look out for that, that's the only way I can augment myself using my own intelligence, right? It's not augmented intelligence, it's the intelligence augmenting itself, right?
Yeah.
Um, I guess what I'm trying
Like
to
if
get
you're having a conversation with someone. Oh,
for you.
no, no. Like exactly that. I just interrupted you, but like you could say, "Hey, look," interrupt them. Say, "Hey, look." If you're having a conversation which you feel like is AI, say, "Hey, excuse me, can you show me your hands?
Right.
Can you show me
Exactly.
your hands real quick?"
Yeah.
Because that's going to be hard to augment. This this right here, moving, very stoic. Talking. But say, "Hey, look, show me your hands real quick, dude." And then you're like, "What do you mean?" And all of a sudden the camera will turn off because they can't fake that all of a sudden, right?
Making my hand moving right
And
now.
they're like, okay, all right, buddy, AI, get out of here, deep fake.
Uh,
So,
I'm sorry, my 56K modem is not working anymore.
oh, that brings back memories. 56K. I know I was rocking at like 33 baud, man. If I had 56K was a dream, but
Oh,
if you could get to like
you made it
past
in the world.
14K,
Okay.
yeah, or have dual modem setups. Oh my gosh, those were the days. But yeah, now we've got deep fakes, and the reality is, I think like you said, the medical applications are just endless. We've talked, you and I, we've had guests in the past where we've talked about where we can use deep fake for assisting dementia patients, and like you mentioned in your case study, and the at the end there's going to be several applications for, and I think we need to. I think I we've always talked about rebranding things like artificial intelligence, AI. We call it augmented interface, or analytical information. I mean, we've got a different, terms for things, and I think that we need to rebrand, or we need to change the way deep fake is looked at, because deep fake is a deep fake, but in some cases, it could be your best friend. you know, maybe at some point, people start to lose grasp of reality in some use cases, and you can bring back a friend, a mother, a loved one, and now they have a friend now. So at some point we can call it best friend, where that person helps you walk you through the end of whatever your, time is. And so there's different use cases where deepfake, I think, is has so much opportunity. And so again, it's like I've used this example before. I use it with my students. We talk about it. I give somebody a knife. Okay, you give me a knife, I know what I'm gonna do with it. In the kitchen, I'm gonna cook fantastic food. I'm gonna chop up the cutting boards are gonna just be a rockin', and at the end, I'm gonna put my knife in the sink and wash it, and it's gonna be clean for the next time I use it. You give someone else a knife, say in another situation, whatever they're at, and they may use the knife in a negative way. They may use it to stab somebody, but it's everyone has, their own different uses when they, decisions that they make whenever they have a device, and then it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. And I'm not going to get into, you know, weapons in itself, but again, you can use anything. Anything can be, your words, who you are can be used in different ways. And so you have to decide, how again you want to benefit society or you want to take away from society, and you want to in our cases we're out to provide information and to educate everyone, and understand that there's a lot of different perspectives, but generally we want to do good things. And so how do we do that?
yeah.
um you
Yeah.
know
I think you know as I was listening to you, I was trying to pull up this list of words that is alternate to the word deep fake.
hmm
When you said deep fake, I made a post about it a few days ago. We talked about the fact that it's academia, industry, and media, right? Three different bodies of organization aim, right?
yes.
Academia, industry, and media. All three of them will have different understanding of deepfake, and they all three have different usage of deepfake, but all three of them are impacted similarly by the deepfake that is being used for bad. But when it
hmm
comes to good, that's where it gets confusing. That's where like, wait, this is made for crime or criminal behaviors, and you are saying what, right? So academia came up with deepfake, and they labeled it. And when media used it only for the negative connotation. So I
Mhm.
think when I said awareness, one of the part of the awareness is to label it correctly, right? This is not a deepfake problem. This is an AI problem, because in AI world, many things are just called AI just because somebody wanted to call it an AI.
Yeah.
Mislabeled it, right? So
Yep.
labeling is a very big problem in all technology, but specifically in AI, it becomes a really a problem, because not everything is AI, but everything is labeled as AI. So not everything is deep fake, but it's labeled as deep fake. So I had, I'm sorry, but like I'm not able to pull it up in real time. But the thing is, like, I have a list of other words that you can use in order to identify what the good deepfake that you're trying to use. So you don't want to walk up to your, say, coworkers and say, from now on, we're going to look at deepfake and try to do something good with it, right? It's not going
Yeah.
to work. You want to explain deepfake in a way that, brings it brings that labeling correctly, and your coworkers are able to identify and make decisions off of that good labeling, right?
Yep.
So you want to identify deepfake as CGI. You want to identify it as an AI generated content. You want to label it as synthetic media. You want to be able to label it as digital avatar, right? So there's so
Yeah.
many ways to explain deepfake, but everything boils down to deepfake, because everything is literally AI generated content. That is to say, I'm going to put a filter on my face and make myself look like a bunny with a tongue sticking out,
Yeah.
right? But you don't want to call it that. You just want to call it what it is. Exactly. So we've been doing it for a long time. Everybody has it on their phone. They're doing all this deep fake stuff. But of course, you want to bring that awareness where anytime something that is portraying a real person, and that person is speaking in Korean, but that person only speaks German. But because it's a German person who's speaking in Korean, should there be a label on the bottom that says, this is something, something, something? Because I think before the conversation started, we were talking about Korea having a deep fake crisis that other countries are not necessarily there yet, but Korea is already there, and Korea,
Oh my.
this is
You can't
running.
talk about that, but yes.
This is a territory that is very sensitive, right? But if
Yeah.
a German person is speaking in Korea, do you think Korean government would love to put a label there and says this person is not actually speaking in Korean? He's a German citizen speaking German language, but that German language is being translated through deepfake into Korean language, Hangul, right? You're speaking in Hangul.
Mhm.
So I guess the idea is that you want to be able to identify any use cases that you want to engage with, label it correctly, and make good decisions off of it. This happens in AI a lot. Like people say, the requirement comes down from the pipeline, says, from now on, we will do AI. Okay, sir, here's your AI. Like
Yeah.
it's that simple, right? Like, here you go.
There
Here's
you go. Would you like an extra helping of AI? Or would you like a large order of AI?
Is that a deepfake ketchup?
This
Yes, sir.
supersized AI. No, yeah, yeah. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, I want a little side, a little bit of, I'm a little bit of DL, deep learning, but I'm allergic to machine learning because I don't know what that is, but I do want AI. I
Well,
do want that.
nobody should jump into learning AI until they go through those YouTube videos of hilarious way people portray AI, right?
Hmm.
Um, there was this one guy who does this skit on YouTube, and he talks about like how the CEOs talk, right? So
Hmm.
CEOs goes into this whole discussion with the developers and all the rest of the team, and after every part of the conversation, so is there a blockchain in that? Is there AI in that? Like CEO has nothing else to add, so he's just like, I just came back from a conference. Is there a
Hmm.
blockchain to that?
Yeah.
I just went to a conference. Is there AI on this one? Like, sir, this is a meal that we cook for our patients. So it's a medical food. We don't need AI.
Yeah. And wow, that's something we haven't talked about in a while is blockchain. And we can say that for the next time. Maybe we can talk about post quantum encryption and
Funny enough. Okay, so here's why. Because I'm going through the list of things that I was looking for.
mhm.
I just wrote a paper on zero knowledge proof for blockchain. And zero knowledge proof, say that to somebody, they will say like, not in a million years I would even want to understand this. And how it's going to be effective, I don't know. But we're already using zero knowledge proof. So yeah, this is going to be a buzzword in the future. But zero knowledge proof blockchain, I would love to get into it with you,
Yeah.
because it's something worth talking about, because we're talking about data privacy at this point. And zero knowledge proof blockchain, these are the data privacy master. This is the technology literally built for that. So we have to get into it. You know,
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about we'll touch on it, Crystal Kuiper, and we'll talk about the new encryption algorithms that are
exciting
like
stuff.
quantum resistant,
Yeah.
and so yeah, next episode we'll focus in today specifically on finishing up on deep fake and again a lot of it I see is entertainment, and I think that just like you hit it right on the head that there should be more much like an IDS or an IPS, as we see the stream of data, we should be able to have a filter for video that starts to be able to see what's natural within video, and then we can pick and like find parts where, again, the AI already has its way of inserting the deep fake images,
Right.
and we should be able to see the edges of wherever anytime an image or video is modified, you should be able to find that within the video and detect it. I don't see why and I'm not questioning why. I'm just saying that I know when when it's live, it's hard to detect, but we should be able to start to get better at that here soon, if not already. Like I said, Trend Micro, or I saw them. They showed how this works, and it's fantastic right off. And so I know they're leading some of the charge in this, and I'm sure there's others where we'll be able to. This will be more like like a virus, that we could detect. Oh, we've detected the new something deep fake version this on your system. Please understand this video, and we'll get to that point sooner rather than later, hopefully. And I've already seen it again, so
Yeah.
everyone else needs to catch up, because not everyone's gonna go to one vendor. But yeah, we open detection, open validation. Go to sites where you can validate that all the sites now have been tested for deep fake. Everything on this site has been certified real,
Right.
and type stuff, kind of like with public certificates
It
and
adds an additional layer of security to it, because
yeah.
we've been so security vulnerable. Now we are getting security expert, right? We're becoming security expert, because more and more we're seeing the attacks come through. We're seeing more people are aware of how these attacks actually starts, right?
Mhm.
So we're controlling the attack surface, we're controlling the attack vectors, we're controlling so many ways to prevent the attacks from going forward and damaging more. So, escalation and de-escalation
Yeah.
of this attack, we are getting good at this, right? And we're going to get good at deepfake too, right? But here's the thing: the security measures came from lots of good and bad, right? Deepfake is also going to be in the same good and bad. Out of all this bad, we're going to get a lot of good out of this, right? We're going to figure out what it is that we do really well, and we're going to keep it, and
Mhm.
everything else we will make sure that nobody does to do it any harm. So, let's say, for example, AI manipulated content, right? So that's another word for deepfake, right? AI manipulated content
I
means,
like that.
yeah, that's what as I'm talking, you like hearing my voice, but
Mhm.
you would love to hear Scarlett Johansson's voice, right? So Asif
Oh
is
yeah.
talking, all of a sudden Asif sounds like Scarlett Johansson. Okay, is that a bad thing? Yes, absolutely illegal, absolutely not a good thing. But here's why Scarlett
Trade
Johansson.
off.
Don't look at me, just listen to my voice. It's just
It
fine.
just
Don't look at me, don't look at me, just listen.
yeah.
But Scarlett Johansson has been named number one influencer in AI world of Times Magazine. So
Wow.
Times Top 100, Scarlett Johansson is number one. Why is that? She doesn't even touch keyboard. If I'm making any assumption here, right? She probably doesn't have to, because she has people that does her development for her, does all the technology for her, right? She doesn't have to touch a keyboard. How is she the AI guru here, right? Well, no, she's not a guru. She's an influencer in the AI world, because from her influence, we have gotten the fastest results on lawsuits against negative usage of AI. right?
Mm.
So if you have an artificial intelligence fake, if you have digital impersonation, synthetic videos, those are all deep fake. And if somebody used it against me, I would have almost a zero chance of winning against somebody for these purposes, right? And of course, law enforcement will say, you know what, tough luck, buddy. Now you just sound like Scarlett Johansson for the rest of your life. Oh,
Mm.
wait, is that a bad thing? No, I don't know. But the point is that she was the influencer that won the lawsuit because she's a celebrity, used her celebrity status to fight back against a big company that otherwise, for me and you to win that fight, would have been impossible, right? It would have been like, yeah, why don't you do something else with your life instead of fighting this big billion-dollar corporations, right? So this is a Scarlett Johansson's contribution to AI manipulated content. So when it comes to AI manipulated content, I think you will see more and more of that. But going back to what I said about me sounding like Scarlett Johansson, well, it adds some value. It's just that, is it legally, is it ethical, is it moral for
Mm.
me to use Scarlett Johansson's voice on top of my videos, right? So this kind of the good AI manipulated content, you will see more and more of, because I can change my background using AI manipulated content. I'm making make it look like I'm in Tibet somewhere, just hanging out with the monks and having a podcast for some awkward reasons. Or it could be that I could have AI generated content to provide you with more information that as I'm speaking, the content that I'm speaking on, you are able to see the context float up on the side of the screen. That's still AI manipulated content, right? Because this content is live streamed, but it's being shown in live screen as the information that otherwise you wouldn't see. So there's, like I said, spectrum of confusion there, but we have to take the bad and turn into a good. Take some of those bad, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, we are able to rehash these use cases and turn them into good. And we'll see a lot of those coming down the pipeline sooner than later.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I always miss that angle because I'm not in that, and I wish that we had more. But we're when it comes to people that are considered, that are so within social media, or they have a status within social media. It's easy to follow, and I think that's the other area that we need to cover is content creators or people that are out there, you know, or the fact that they use so different social media platforms as a way to get whatever the message is. That when it comes to social media platforms, they need to be able to take the responsibility of being able to filter out, what's deep fake and what's not, and be able to stamp it certified. And so they start to take on more of that responsibility. I know that that's asking a lot, but when it comes to providing, content openly, who's going to be the one? Because we've talked about privacy, right? But this isn't privacy. This is more, you can socially engineer people. You can control decision making of people. You can control the way people think. Um, and there's a that is a powerful tool, and not just social media, but now that you can create videos in a, in any which way you want now. So somebody's gonna. And I think that when we have people that are delivering that type of data, that they should be held responsible within that, so they can say, you know what, this is an original video, this has been synthetic, or this has been modified, artificially modified video. And then there's a green check, kind of like, again, I go back to the same thing. So on the internet, people, if you guys don't remember, we used to do the internet, and it was just HTTP. Okay. So then we moved on to HTTPS. Now it's using TLS, it's secure. And now when you go to a browser, you go to your website, it tells you this website's secure, and you get a little green lock, or you get a little, it shows that that site is certified, and they've been validated. They have a certificate that they are who they say they are, and it shows for a fact that that site is trusted.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'll go back to it. Video should have a green check mark now, maybe on the corner, maybe, somewhere that says, okay, original, valid content, um, modified, green, or I'm sorry, red on the corner, cannot be validated. you
Yeah.
know, and that's a standard that we're going to have to develop
Yeah.
over time, and it can be done. But again, that's the type of stuff that we're going to have to look forward to in the future. Just because the like privacy, we want to be secure and we want to provide, you know, safety on the internet, and so, you know,
Let,
that's just
let's
time.
talk about something that, based on everything you said, why don't we have that today, and why we will have it in the future,
Yeah.
right? And why we already have it, it's just that we're not there yet, right? Because we haven't asked for it. And I think
Hmm.
that's the past, present, and future. In the present time, if you are speaking on this topic and you're asking for it, you will get it because it's already available.
Hmm.
It's just that you haven't asked for it enough. You haven't created that demand signal for these guys who will develop. So let's talk about exactly what I'm talking about, right? Let's talk
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
technology. The reason we didn't have it for a very long time is because the processing power in your system was limited to a certain amount of data that will go through the gates in order to process those data, right? So those gates are very limited because those gates are transacting millions and billions of sets of data. I mean, excuse me, bytes and zeros and ones every nanosecond, right? Okay, cool. So even with that, it's not enough to process that much data. So when your HTTPS website is being processed instead of a gate, that gate has only so much that it can process. So it can process your security, it can process a good, fast latency, zero latency content, it can process your request that much faster. But for it to understand deep fake, it would
Hmm.
need to process billion more, right? So say for example,
Well,
Scarlett Johansson's voice is coming through the gate,
yeah.
and by the time the system is saying, you know, I hear Scarlett Johansson's voice, but let me put a label there before you actually hear it, there's a deep fake content coming your way, right? Or it labels on the bottom. So sort of what you see on social media, where you see an information from an overseas news industry, and on the bottom it says this information is coming from overseas, right?
Hmm.
Not that the guys who are feeding that information to you is telling you they're from overseas. It's YouTube that's recognized it as overseas content. So similar to that, what's available today is that much more power is
Yeah.
actually is available. Like we're not talking about millions and billions, we're talking about trillions of data that's being able to process through a gate. And I'm simplifying the term gate here just to make it easier to understand. But trillion means 40 trillion information sets that can be processed through a gate, and that's incredible, right? And that incredible, why I say it's already available is because of this thing called recall, right? Recall is what's inside of your Microsoft computer, and it's screenshotting every single usage of your computer, and it's being processed inside the computer to keep it as a memory for you to pull up later. So say for example today, if you want to go back in history and say, 5 days ago when I was visiting this website, what was I doing to get to this part of the website, right? Or I forgot the product's name. So you can start actually having the NLP, natural language processing style discussions with your laptop and say, 5 days ago I was walking around the town, and somehow I came back home and I looked up something. Why did I look that up? A recall system will be able to recall that information and tell you, well, you were walking around downtown Seattle, and when you came home, you looked this up because you saw a donut in downtown Seattle, and you wanted to see the price of that donut in the website, right? Say, for example, on your Microsoft devices, and then it's able to create those content and context, right? And that ability is already available today, but you tap into those same availability to say, what's deepfake and what's not, because it's not the responsible product pusher that will take the responsibility of identifying deepfake. It's your computer that's processing that information to say, this is a deepfake content. You should
Yeah.
know, right? And your computer is able to process 40 trillion sets of data, and it's able to chop up every single bits
Oh, I
of,
see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and it's processing that information in real time. And that's possible today. It's just that it's coming in slowly, but how fast does it get here will make all the difference, in my opinion.
And I agree. I agree. You're absolutely right. Because we're dispersing the processing power amongst, like, kind of like SETI back in the day. Hey, we're okay. Instead of you having a central location, everyone help process, and
Right.
I think if we that model would work better. Actually, you're right. that where again it comes down to end user or host detection, you
Right.
know,
Right.
of the content, and that would be more centralized, more manageable. No, I agree, but even still, there, I think that we're not going to have. I think we're going to have multiple ways of targeting this because there's not again like AI. There's different ways of applications. There's voice, there's video, there's images,
That's right.
you know, and so there's live. Obviously, there has to be a way, and we've seen it live streaming deep fakes, but that's not the norm. Most of it is pre-recorded, but again, a lot of it there's different layers and different levels. So we're going to have different measures or different security controls for different applications. So, but I agree with you. I think that's probably a better way of detection.
Well, yeah, we've had a live stream deepfake debate between two presidential candidates that lasted for
Yeah.
38 hours, right? It was a long debate. They just over and over debated each other about multiple topics, and that was live stream, and that was so. I think it's going back to you have your endpoint devices and you have your XDR level devices where
Hmm.
it's not necessarily on you to identify deepfake. There should be Twitch or anybody who's live streaming Zoom who's so I guess let's get a little bit technical with it. If you when a lot of people think about data in motion because that's what's happening right now, data in motion. I'm speaking and Lucky can hear me, and everybody who's on LinkedIn can hear me. That's data in motion. But what we really have hard time understanding is how much data is at rest in between
Yeah.
this motion that's happening, right? So there's a lot of stopping point where the data stops and reprocesses and either improves or takes something down or adds and subtract, multiply, whatever the case is. There's a data point where the data comes to a rest as it's moving in motion in real time. So there's other responsible owners in between this data transition. So if I'm pushing out a fake product, I should be able to say, yeah, I'm pushing out a fake product. I just don't know where it will stop actually.
Hmm.
Right? Like
Yeah.
so some server out there, some data processing system out there will
Mhm.
stop me from propagating my fake products, right? So this is responsible owners. I think there's multiple layers of it. We just don't know at what layer will be the most effective, but we don't also want to create a bottleneck where everybody's processing a deep fake. We want to be able to share that responsibility throughout the system. Like you said, EDR and XDR, right?
Mhm.
We don't know who will stop the propagation of this bad information.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going through it in my head because I used to create filters for IPSs, IDSs, and like virus. I back in the day, I used to work for an antivirus vendor, and you just create emergency. Like if there was a new virus, and we work out a detection string, we would create it, and I'm just thinking the same way because back in the day, you look at a lot of in context, what basically a signature.
That's right.
And so how in video is just it's that's the tough part is it's video it the data much like like you said video is it's the way it's done it's not exact it's
Yeah.
using UDP it's streaming
Right.
and so video wave the way the amount of data it's hard to put a signature on that because for the most part, videos being dropped, files are being dropped. As long as it's streaming and buffering and it's clear and it's like you said, so it's just getting to where the technology can see, when something's been augmented or modified,
Yeah.
and what's not natural, and create a filter on on that,
Yeah.
a detection string on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're there. We're getting better at it.
It's a one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that you can do in Kafka to prevent fake information to go out, right? It's a matter of going out there and pulling it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of capabilities like of I guess if I'm going too deep into it, it's necessary that we think about it from the database perspective, so that way it doesn't end up in end user's perspective or end user site, right? So we're trying to delete it from the database, and how fast we can delete from the database, how much of the information do we have? Because it has lots of implications that you can shut down people from talking if that was the case, right? So when you talk about IDF, IDS, IDPs, sorry, intrusion detection system,
Yeah.
intrusion
Detection
prevention
system,
system.
IPS. Yeah.
So IPS. So when you have all these capabilities that you are rehashing, we know the problems that it creates a bottleneck. It spits out information, throws out information that we actually want to see, right? Will that happen with AI? I bet, but with text you can do it very easily. With live streaming, I don't know, right? Live streaming could be a difficult proposition because live streaming is not same as Kafka or social media content. So in the live media, you can bring it down later. So I'll tell you one of the like I said, these capabilities are already existing. It's just that
Yeah.
it takes lots of effort to put this down, right? So let's say, for example, on YouTube, you're watching a video. Do you think YouTube, somebody sits there and manually does the closed caption, right? No, nobody does that. It's an algorithm. It's an AI. It's a machine learning
Yes.
that's doing closed
Yes.
caption. And these closed captions are so sophisticated, it can literally see a piece of a video and take the image from that video and contextualize what's happening in that video. So if you want to look at a closed caption and say, this person said something, right? So let me you know, I guess I'm thinking about it, how to draw the picture here. It's me and Lucky talking on YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, how does the system know Lucky's name is Lucky? Because we have not mentioned Lucky's name yet. But system is able to pick it up that Lucky is the one that's speaking. So when the
Hmm.
closed caption comes up, it says Lucky said this, right? That's AI machine learning, right?
Hmm.
Those are the powerful capabilities of what being said and who said it and what to flag as a red item or problematic topic, right?
Hmm.
So, say for example, you're talking about topics that are just not, healthy, right? Propagates misinformation, right? So we have those capabilities. It's just that how do we push it and make it work is the slow process that we're kind of going through right now. Because if YouTube can do it, so can I. Because same algorithm that YouTube uses, I can copy and paste it. I can make one for myself and have these content and context be identified in real time. It's just that who's going to adopt it and who's going to execute it and who's going to be the responsible owner of it is where we're at. And like I said, a lot more people needs to be involved in this conversation to create that demand signal, and that demand signal is of course what people will process and provide on that demand signal. So just leave it at that. A lot of technical details here, but I'm trying to draw a storyline here that makes sense to everybody, and that's what we need, everybody to jump in and start talking about these topics, because it benefits us, right? It doesn't benefit the criminals and people that are trying to abuse and misabuse the zeros and ones in databases.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're coming to a conclusion now. I think we've ran this aground. There's so much more to cover, but at the end, we are on the bleeding edge. When it comes to deep fake and I like to call it instead of DF, I like to call it BF. Instead of like deep fake sounds like Jaws, like or like deep ocean. I'd rather deep fake. I'd rather change it to like BF, best friend. At some point, we're gonna have a lot of tech. We can take advantage of this and use it in so many different ways to where it benefits us
Yeah.
and not take it to the negative stream. It just we just have to use it in a positive way. Stay in the kitchen and making good food. That's what you want to use a knife for. And the same thing with this. We want to stay. We're in a safe place, helping people and figuring out ways of having this help us.
Yeah.
At some point, it'd be nice to have this applied in I don't know how many thousands of ways to help us.
Oh yeah, just way too many ways to apply it. I mean, you can think about it from AR VR perspective. If
Mhm.
you're not using AR by next 5 years, we're gonna miss out on so many capabilities.
Mhm.
But we really have to get used to AR, and AR is ultimate friend of deepfake, and
Yeah.
deepfake is ultimate friend of AR. So yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. BF, best fake friend.
Yeah, man. Alternate realities, but sometimes, but the way a lot of our technologies, you see people now, we're wrapping it up, but you see people out there now, the stuff walking around and they're just, they have their VR or alternate reality and they're walking around and that's their reality.
Yeah.
They're trendsetters, man. They're the first ones. The whole, we'll see more of that.
Yeah.
and how people are plugged in, and whatever signals we want to make sure that they're authentic.
Yeah.
They're not synthetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Authentic, not synthetic. I like that.
Authentic, not synthetic. Well, yeah, synthetic data, synthetic video, synthetic content. Yeah,
Yeah,
authentic, not synthetic.
yeah. But yeah, that I think that's where we want to be
We're
able to.
labeling it correctly, sir. Me and you are labeling it correctly. I think we just fixed the whole deepfake problem just by calling it authentic and synthetic.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see if that term grows. But yeah, definitely, this was a great conversation today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Asif. And ay, 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 ay.
Yeah, we solved it. All right. Until the next episode of AYAYAI, you guys take care, and we'll be back soon. Hey, this is my real hand. No
Hey,
robots.
real hands, not synthetic.